On the distant world of Virelia, the sky glowed with pale violet light. The twin suns were rising, painting the marketplace in long shadows. Merchants opened their stalls. Aliens of every shape and size arranged their goods, and the smell of spice and metal filled the air. Normally this place was loud and full of life, but today, the market was silent. People stood still, eyes fixed on the center of the square. A wooden platform had been built overnight. Heavy ropes hung above it. Guards in dark armor marched around the platform, pushing the crowd back. Nobody dared speak. Nobody dared breathe too loud. Everyone was waiting. At the heart of the platform stood a young girl. Her hands were tied. Her feet trembled. She had thin arms, pale skin with faint silver marks, and long dark hair that fell over her face. She looked mostly human, but her eyes were different. Bright turquoise, like the ocean on a world she had never seen. Her name was Liora. She was half human and half alien. A hybrid, a mistake, some said. A danger, others whispered. She looked only 16. A guard shouted at the crowd, "Keep back. No one interferes. The sentence will be carried out." Liora tried to swallow her fear. She felt her heart beating like a drum. She tried to speak, but her voice was too weak. She could only look down, trying to understand how she had reached this moment. She had not hurt anyone. She had never broken the law. She only tried to survive. Still, here she was, from the crowd. A little alien child tugged on her mother's sleeve and whispered, "Why are they doing this to her?" The mother pulled the child close, shaking her head. "Because she is different," she replied. "And different is dangerous." The words struck Liora harder than any blow. Near the back of the square, a human man entered the market. He wore a dusty coat, old boots, and carried a pack over his shoulder. His hair was gray at the edges, his face marked by age and war. His name was Commander Elias Ward, once a respected soldier of the Terran Defense Fleet. Now, he was a wanderer, traveling from world to world. Searching for a reason to keep going, he noticed the silence immediately. He pushed through the quiet crowd and saw the platform. He saw the guards, and then he saw her. Liora. A shock went through him. Hybrids were rare, almost impossible. Humans and aliens could not easily share DNA. For many, it was unthinkable. But here was proof. A living miracle. Or, as some believed, a threat. Elias stepped closer. A voice echoed across the square. The High Counselor of Virelia, dressed in gold robes, stepped onto the stage. His eyes were cold, and his voice carried the weight of final judgment. "People of Virelia," he called out, "today we remove a danger from our world. This hybrid creature is proof of forbidden science. She does not belong to any race. She is a mistake of nature. For the safety of our children and the purity of our bloodlines, she must be removed." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked away, ashamed. None stepped forward. Liora lifted her head. Her voice finally found strength, even if it trembled. "I am not dangerous," she said. "I never hurt anyone. I only wanted a home." The High Counselor sneered. "You are a threat by existing. That is enough." Elias clenched his fists. Something twisted inside him, anger, confusion, and something else he had not felt in years, hope. A human hybrid might mean more like her existed. It might mean humanity and Alienkin were not enemies by nature. It might mean peace, or it might mean war. Guards approached Liora. She turned her face away, bracing for the end. The crowd leaned in, breath held. Elias stepped forward, voice deep and clear. "Stop." The sound cut through the silence like a blade. Guards halted. The High Counselor frowned. Elias stepped into the open space, his boots echoing across the stones. "I demand to know her crime," he said. The High Counselor lifted his chin. She was born. That is her crime. The words dropped like ice. Elias looked around at the crowd. Their fear, their confusion, their guilt. He saw a universe tearing itself apart over differences. He had seen this before in war, in politics, on dying planets. He faced the counselor again. And you think killing her will fix your fear? She is not one of us, the counselor replied. She is not one of you. She is nothing. Elias's voice was steady, strong. No, she is someone. And I will not let you do this. Gasps spread through the crowd. Leora stared at him, eyes wide with shock, with hope, with disbelief. For the first time in her life, someone had stepped forward. For the first time in her life, someone saw her as more than a mistake. In that moment, the universe changed. The marketplace remained frozen in silence. Birds circled in the air above, their wings cutting through the violet sky like knives. Everyone watched Elias, unsure if he was courageous or foolish. A stranger challenging the High Council of Verelia was not normal. It was dangerous. Leora stared at him, her turquoise eyes wide. She did not know this man. She had never seen him before. And yet his voice felt like a shield placed gently in front of her. The High Counselor took a step forward, his golden robe brushing across the wood. You are not from here, human. You do not understand our laws. Asterisk. This is a matter of survival. Elias didn't move. He met the counselor's eyes without fear. I have been to worlds where fear becomes law, he said. They always fall. Murmurs began again. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. The tension felt like a storm waiting to break. A merchant in the crowd whispered, "He is going to get himself killed." Another replied, "Maybe he is right. Maybe this is wrong." The counselor raised a hand to silence the crowd. His voice turned cold, like steel left in the snow. "Very well, outsider. You want to know her crimes? Let us speak of them." He looked at Leora the way someone looks at a dangerous animal. This hybrid child was found near the ruins of the old research facility, he announced. The place where forbidden experiments once happened. Not a single survivor was found there, except her. Elias frowned. That does not prove she did anything. More proof? The counselor asked sharply. She carries marks on her skin that match the ancient designs of the parasite war. Symbols of genetic corruption. He gestured at Leora's faint silver markings. They glowed softly under the alien sun, gentle and harmless. Elias shook his head. Markings are not a crime. She did not choose them. The counselor ignored him and continued. She also survived in the wilderness for years. No normal child could survive that long alone. So we ask, what keeps her alive? A guard stepped forward, voice loud and accusing. She has power inside her. Something not natural. Something dangerous. Leora's voice shook as she finally spoke, her words small but clear. I do not have power. I only have fear. And I never asked for any of this. Her voice reached the crowd like a fragile thread, trembling but unbroken. Elias turned to the counselor. You punish her for surviving. For existing. That is not justice. That is fear pretending to be law. The counselor's eyes narrowed. You talk like a soldier. But this is not your battlefield, Commander Elias Ward of the Terran Defense Fleet. The way he spoke Elias's full name made the crowd gasp. Somehow the counselor knew who he was. Leora's breath caught. You are a commander. Elias didn't answer. His past was something he didn't speak of. Not for years. The galaxy had once known him as a war hero. But heroes were only needed during wars. When the wars ended, so did the reason to keep fighting. The counselor smiled. But it was not kind. You should leave now, Commander Ward, before your reputation turns to dust here. Before rumors spread that a hero has become a traitor. Elias stepped closer to Leora instead of leaving. If defending a child makes me a traitor, then so be it. The wind picked up. Sand swirled at the edges of the platform. The counselor snapped his fingers. Enough. Begin the sentence. 2 guards moved toward Leora. She flinched but stayed still. She no longer had the strength to fight or speak. She simply closed her eyes, waiting for the final moment she feared so much. Elias moved. He placed himself between Leora and the guards. He did not draw a weapon. He did not attack. He simply stood there like a wall. "You will have to go through me," he said quietly. The guards hesitated. This human looked like he had seen many battles and survived them. He was not threatening them, but his presence felt heavy, like an ancient mountain. The counselor raised his hand. "Arrest him." Before the guards could act, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Wait!" The crowd parted as a woman approached. She wore a silver uniform with the emblem of the planetary archives. She held a data tablet in her hands, shaking. "I have new information," she said breathlessly. "About the girl. About her origin. About everything." The counselor froze. "What information?" The woman swallowed hard and turned to Elias and Leora. "This child. This hybrid. She may not be a danger." She paused, eyes wide. "She may be the key to saving us." Gasps rose again. Even the wind seemed to stop. Elias looked at Liora. Liora looked at him. For the first time, the future did not look like an ending, but a beginning. The woman in the silver uniform stood trembling, her data tablet glowing with blue symbols. Every pair of eyes in the marketplace focused on her, as if she carried lightning in her hands. The High Counselor's voice cracked through the silence. "Explain yourself now." She swallowed hard. "My name is Archivist Celine Var. I work in the Ancient Records Division. Last night, I decoded a restricted file from the old research facility. I found something. Something about the girl." Leora lifted her head slowly. Her turquoise eyes searched Selene's face, looking for hope or truth or anything to hold on to. Selene continued. "She was not created by accident. She was created by design, a project called Unity Protocol." Elias frowned. What was the goal of this project? "To bridge the DNA of humans and alien species in peace," Selene answered. "To create someone who could survive on any world. Someone who could understand every species. Someone who could end wars." A whisper rolled through the crowd like thunder with no sound. Selene looked straight at the counselor. "You knew about this, didn't you? You hid it." The counselor's eyes flashed with anger. The project was forbidden for a reason. Elias took a step forward. "What reason?" The counselor didn't look at Elias. Instead, he looked at Leora like she was a lock that should never be opened. If Unity Protocol succeeded, then the future of the galaxy would no longer belong to pure bloodlines. It would belong to hybrids. He said the last word like it tasted bitter. Selene shook her head. "That is not a threat. That is evolution." But the counselor slammed his staff onto the platform. "It is corruption. It is chaos. It is the end of who we are." The crowd burst into arguments. Some shouted that Leora should be freed. Others insisted she was dangerous. Fear and hope crashed like waves, loud and heavy. Through it all, Leora stood silent. Her thoughts were spinning faster than the world around her. She was supposed to be nothing, an accident, a curse, a mistake. Now she was something made on purpose. Maybe even something important. Elias turned to her. "Did you know any of this?" She shook her head. "No, I never knew. I never asked to be special. I just wanted a family, a place to belong." The counselor raised his voice. "It does not matter. The sentence will continue. This knowledge changes nothing." Selene stepped in front of him. "It changes everything. If she is the Unity Protocol, she could be the answer to guards." The counselor roared. 5 guards rushed onto the platform, surrounding Elias, Leora, and Selene. Their armor clattered like cold metal teeth. Now panic moved through the crowd. People stepped back, afraid of what might happen next. Elias looked at the guards. He did not reach for a weapon. He simply spoke. "You are following a law built on fear," he said. "Is that why you became soldiers? To hurt the innocent, or to protect them?" One guard hesitated. Another looked down. But duty was heavy, and fear was heavier. The counselor pointed at Elias. "Arrest the human first, then the girl." Selene whispered urgently to Elias. "There's a back route off the platform. A maintenance hatch, we can escape." Elias nodded. "You take Leora, I will distract them." Leora's eyes widened. "What?" "No, you will be taken." Before Elias could answer, the guards charged. Elias moved not like a warrior, not like a killer, but like someone who knew how to survive storms. He sidestepped the first guard, causing him to stumble. He blocked another with his arm and pushed him aside, using their momentum against them. It was not violent. It was controlled, like wind bending trees. Selene grabbed Leora's hand. "Come." Now, Leora looked at Elias one last time. Something inside her whispered to stay. But something louder whispered to run. She followed Selene. They slipped behind the platform, down narrow metal stairs. The maintenance hatch was hidden behind crates. Selene typed a code into the control panel. The hatch unlocked with a hiss. Above them, Elias faced the guards, trying to hold them back without hurting them. The counselor shouted, "Do not let them escape. If the hybrid leaves this planet, the galaxy will burn." Leora froze at the words. "Burn? Why would I cause that?" Selene pulled her through the hatch. "You won't. Not if we learn the truth before they destroy it." As they ran through the dark tunnel, footsteps and shouts echoed behind them. Elias was still up there, alone. Leora's chest tightened. She didn't know what scared her more, being caught, or being what the counselor said she was. A spark, a beginning, a threat, a key. For the first time in her life, she did not know who she was, but she knew one thing clearly. She would not go back. The tunnel stretched ahead into the unknown, into a darkness that felt almost like hope. Elias stood alone on the platform as the maintenance hatch sealed shut behind Leora and Selene. The guards circled him in a half-moon shape, nervous but determined. The crowd watched with wide eyes, too afraid to breathe. The High Counselor stood tall, believing victory was already in his hands. "You cannot save her," the counselor said. "You cannot save yourself." Elias raised his hands slowly, palms forward, showing he carried no weapon. "Maybe not. But I can try. Sometimes trying is enough to change the future." Two guards stepped forward. Elias moved calmly, stepping aside like he knew their paths before they took them. He guided their momentum past him, making them trip into each other. The crowd gasped. He was not fighting them. He was surviving them. The counselor snarled. "He is trained. He is dangerous. Take him down." Elias's voice remained steady. "You are trained too. You choose what to do with your training. You choose fear. I choose something else." A third guard lifted an energy baton. Elias ducked, the baton whooshing over his head. He tapped the guard's shoulder, redirecting him with a gentle shove. The guard fell harmlessly to the ground. The remaining guards hesitated. Fighting a killer was one thing. Fighting someone who refused to kill back was another. Elias's heart pounded. His breath burned. He was strong, but not limitless. He could not hold them forever. Then, something unexpected happened. A voice from the crowd shouted, "Let him speak." Another followed. The girl did nothing wrong. And then a third, louder, "This is not justice." A ripple of courage spread through the people. Some stepped forward, others simply watched with new eyes. The counselor's expression twisted in anger. "Silence," he ordered, but the crowd did not silence. Elias used the distraction. He backed toward the edge of the platform. His eyes found the path Leora had taken. He had to follow. He had promised. He dropped to the ground and disappeared behind the crates. Guards rushed after him. The crowd surged, blocking their advance. Some stepped in the way. Some pretended to stumble. Some simply refused to move. The guards pushed through, but every second lost was a priceless gift. Below the marketplace, in the maintenance tunnels, Leora and Celine ran through metallic corridors lit by flickering lights. The air smelled like rust and forgotten years. The rumble of machinery echoed from somewhere deep beneath the planet's surface. Leora slowed. "Wait!" "Elias," he stayed behind. "We left him." Celine stopped, looking back. "He chose to stay. To protect you." "But I don't understand why," Leora said, voice shaking. "He doesn't even know me." Celine placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Maybe he does. Maybe not from the past. But from what you could be." Leora did not know what that meant. She only knew that the fear inside her was changing shape. It was no longer just fear. It was responsibility. Celine checked her data tablet. "There's an underground tram station ahead. If we reach it, we can leave the city. There's a human embassy in the outer ring. If we get there." The tablet beeped. Warning lights flashed. "They found us," Celine whispered. Heavy footsteps and voices echoed behind them, growing louder. Lior, A felt her pulse spike. Her silver markings glowed faintly, like stars beneath her skin. She covered them quickly. "What is happening to me?" Celine's eyes softened. "I don't know. But I think it's part of what you are." They turned a corner and froze. Asterisk. "Our destination is the outer ring," he said. "The human embassy should be there. They have laws that might protect." "You might?" Leora echoed. "It's better than none." Elias replied. Celine approached with her tablet. "And I sent a coded message ahead. If the embassy believes us, they might send a shuttle." Leora exhaled slowly. "A shuttle? Like space? Leaving this world?" "Yes," Elias said. "Leaving Virelia." The idea scared her. But staying scared her more. Before she could respond, the tram lights flickered. The vehicle shook violently. Celine grabbed a handrail. "What was that?" she gasped. Elias moved to the window. Something metallic clung to the outside of the tram like a mechanical insect with glowing eyes and legs of sharp steel. A hunter. "Drone." Elias's face hardened. "They sent drones after us." The drone crawled along the tram, scanning windows with red beams. More shapes appeared in the darkness of the tunnel. 2, 3, 4 drones chasing them along the tracks. Celine checked the console. "They're trying to stop the tram." They hacked the power. The lights went out. For a moment, everything was black. Then emergency lights switched on, dim, red, pulsing. Elias grabbed the metal pole to steady himself. "We need to reach the control room at the front." They moved through the shaking tram. The drones clawed at the roof, sparks raining down from above. A panel burst open, and a mechanical arm reached inside. Leora froze, fear locking her body. Elias stepped in front of her. "Listen to me. You aren't alone. And you don't have to be afraid of yourself." The tram jerked. Leora fell against the wall, her hand slapping a metal support beam. The silver markings on her skin lit up strongly. The metal beam vibrated beneath her fingers, like it recognized her. Leora felt something rise inside like wind wanting to escape her lungs. She placed her other hand on the tram wall. "I don't know how to use this," she whispered. Elias's voice was calm. "Then don't use it to destroy. Use it to protect." Leora closed her eyes. In the dark behind her eyelids, she didn't see the tram. She saw lines like threads connecting. Everything. Metal, wires, energy, people. She didn't understand it, but she felt it. Her voice came out soft. "Please, just move." The tram suddenly surged forward, engines roaring back to life. The lights flared. The drones behind them were thrown off balance, smashing against the tunnel walls. The one on the roof screeched in sparks and fell away. Leora's eyes opened. Selene stared at her like she was looking at a miracle. You connected to the tram systems. You spoke to the machine. Leora shook, overwhelmed. I didn't force it. I just asked. Elias smiled just a little. That's what makes you dangerous to them. Not power, choice. Ahead, the tunnel ended. The tram burst into open air, racing onto elevated tracks above the night-lit city. Stars filled the sky like windows to other worlds. But the moment of peace didn't last. On the horizon, rising like a storm cloud, a massive airship appeared. Black metal, glowing engines. A symbol painted across it. Council Enforcement Division aliases. Jaw tightened. They sent the military. Leora looked at the airship, its shadow covering the tracks, blocking their way forward. She felt the storm inside her awaken again, and this time, it was not quiet. The tram shot across the elevated tracks, metal groaning under the speed. Wind roared through the cracks in the windows. The lights of Virelia's capital stretched below shining towers, crowded districts, the chaos of a planet that wanted to forget its secrets. Above them, the Council Enforcement airship drifted closer. It was huge, like a floating fortress. Engines growled. Searchlights swept the tracks, hunting. Selene checked the controls. They're trying to override the tram again. Elias scanned the sky. If they board us, they'll take Leora. End of story. Leora's heart thumped painfully. She stared at the airship. A feeling crept through her, cold, heavy, not fear. Something sharper. They won't take me. She said quietly, not again. Something hit the tram from behind, a magnetic clamp. A loud, metallic thunk echoed. A cable whipped through the air, attaching to the tram's roof. Selene gasped. They're going to reel us in. The tram slowed, gears screeching in protest. The airship's engines flared, pulling them closer like a predator dragging prey. A hatch in the roof of the tram blew open. Dust filled the air. A figure dropped down into the carriage, landing with a heavy thud. He stood tall, armored in black and silver. His helmet hid his face, but his voice echoed like burning coal. Commander. Elias Ward, he said. Step away from the hybrid. Elias stiffened. I know that voice. The helmet retracted with a hiss. A scarred human face appeared, not young, not old. Hard, eyes like stone. Captain Cale Draven, once Elias's ally, once his brother in arms. Now the Council's weapon. Leora felt the air tighten. You? Elias whispered. I thought you were dead. Cale's jaw flexed. I might as well be. The war ended. But I didn't. I became something useful instead. Elias stepped closer. You're serving the people who fear the future. I'm serving what keeps the galaxy stable, Cale retorted. Hybrids like her are a threat to that stability. Leora flinched but didn't look away. Cale pointed at her. She is the Unity Protocol. You know what that means. Selene swallowed. You think the protocol is dangerous, but what if it's the answer? What if she can save us from the next war? Cale's voice dropped. There is no next war. There is only prevention. Remove the threat. Remove the spark. No spark, no fire. Elias shook his head. That's not prevention. That's fear pretending to be leadership. Cale's eyes flicked toward Leora. The Council gave an order. Return the hybrid. Or eliminate her. The words hit the air like ice water. Leora's hands shook. Her voice was barely a whisper. Why? Why am I so dangerous to you? Cale's expression softened for the briefest moment. Because you might change everything. And some things don't want to be changed. He stepped forward. Elias moved in front of Leora. You'll have to go through me. Don't make me, Cale warned. Not again. Elias didn't move. Kale raised a weapon, not a gun, but a containment rod. A device that emitted a magnetic pulse. Non-lethal, but paralyzing. He activated it. Blue rings of energy crackled around the tip. Leora's breath caught. This time, fear didn't freeze her. It pushed her forward. "Stop," she said. Kale hesitated, confused by the confidence in her voice. Leora stepped beside Elias and lifted her hand. The silver markings glowed like fireflies trapped beneath skin. The tram hummed like it felt her. Elias whispered, "You don't have to do this." Leora never took her eyes off Kale. "If I don't stand now, I'll run forever." Kale's containment rod crackled. "You don't know how to control it." "I don't need control," Leora said. "I need truth." Energy built in the air like oxygen turning to electricity. The lights in the tram flickered. The metal vibrated. Selene took a step back, eyes wide. Kale tightened his grip. Leora whispered, "Please, not like this." A pulse erupted, not an explosion. Not destruction, a wave, soundless, invisible, but powerful. The tram lights went white. The metal warped like it was made of smoke. Kale was thrown backward, hitting the wall, dropping the containment rod. The magnetic clamp snapped. The cable whipped loose. The airship lurched away, alarms blaring. The tram shot forward, free again. Leora collapsed to her knees. Exhausted. Elias caught her before she hit the floor. "It's okay, I've got you." Kale groaned, trying to stand. His voice was rough. "This isn't over. The council won't stop." "I won't stop." Elias's eyes hardened. "Then we'll stay ahead. Like we always did." Kale managed to stare at Leora. "If you escape this planet, the stars will come for you." Leora met his gaze. "Then I'll learn how to shine." Before Kale could reply, the tram brakes squealed. They saw it outside the window, the outer ring, a massive barrier wall, watchtowers, docking stations, and beyond it spaceports. Ships ready to leave the planet. Elias exhaled. "We made it, almost." Leora stood, trembling but determined. Almost. Sometimes almost changed the universe. The tram screeched to a halt just outside the outer ring. Sparks danced across the rails. Beyond the windows, Leora saw the towering barrier wall, sharp metal, bright lights and guards patrolling like restless shadows. Behind the wall, the spaceport glowed like a doorway to the stars, the path to freedom. Or the beginning of another chase. Elias helped Leora stand while Selene checked the tram systems. "We can't move again," Selene said. "The engines are fried. This is as far as it takes us." Elias nodded. "Then we walk." They stepped out of the tram and onto the platform. The wind was cold here, carrying the smell of jet fuel and salty metal. Ships roared in the distance as they prepared for launch. Leora stared up at the stars. She had never seen them so clearly before. They looked close enough to touch, and terrifying. "Elias," she whispered, "what if leaving causes something worse? What if the council is right?" He rested a hand on her shoulder. "Fear can predict problems. Hope builds solutions. You get to choose which one leads you." Leora nodded, even if she didn't fully understand. The choice scared her. But for the first time, she had one to make. Selene pointed ahead. "There's a service gate. If we get through, we can reach Dock 6. The embassy shuttle leaves in 15 minutes. They hurried through the shadows of old containers and parked vehicles. Every sound felt too loud. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Halfway to the gate, a spotlight snapped on. "Stop!" Dozens of guards appeared from the corners, weapons raised, but not pointed. They formed a barrier, waiting for orders. Then between them, the High Counselor stepped forward. His gold robe gleamed like polished fire. His expression was calm, but his voice cut through the wind like glass. "Hybrid," he said coldly. "Your escape ends here. Leora felt her knees weaken. Elias stepped in front of her. Selene did the same. The counselor lifted a hand. Elias Ward, Archivist Var, step aside. I will not harm you if you surrender her. Elias didn't move. We both know that promise is empty. The counselor studied Elias with disappointment. You were a hero once. Now you betray the galaxy for a child who should never have been born. Leora flinched. The words landed like stones. Selene stepped forward suddenly, voice shaking but loud. She is not a mistake. She is proof that connection is possible. Connection? The counselor scoffed. No, she is a sign that our worlds will blur until we do not know who we are. She is the death of identity. Leora's voice rose before she could stop it. I am not the death of anything. I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose what I am. Her silver markings glowed. The wind seemed to shift around her, responding like a loyal friend. The counselor's eyes narrowed. You see? She cannot control it. Power draws power. Soon the galaxy will feel her. And they will come, not to protect her but to claim her. Elias spoke softly to Leora. You don't have to listen to him. But Leora shook her head. No, I need to speak for myself now. She stepped forward. For a moment, nobody moved. The guards didn't raise their weapons. The counselor didn't shout. Even the wind waited. Leora's voice was steady. I do not want to be a weapon. I do not want to be a hero. I only want to live without fear. If the galaxy is afraid of that, then maybe the galaxy needs to change, not me. Silence fell. Then, surprisingly, one guard lowered his weapon. Then another. And another. The counselor's eyes widened in anger. Stand your ground, you will obey. But the guards looked at Leora and hesitated. Elias whispered to her, pride in his eyes. You changed something, right here, right now. The counselor raised his hand, preparing to signal the airship for an attack. A loud boom echoed overhead. Everyone looked up. From the clouds above. A massive starship descended, not council-made. Not Varelian, human, a symbol of the Terran fleet. Shone on its hull, bright as a promise. A voice boomed from its speakers. Commander Elias Ward, respond. We received your distress call. We are here to extract you in the hybrid, Selene gasped. They actually came. Elias looked at Leora. This is it. One step and everything changes. Leora stared at her hands, at the silver marks. At the world behind her, at the stars ahead. Fear and hope collided in her chest like thunder and sunlight fighting for the sky. She took a breath. I'm scared, she said. Elias nodded. So am I. Leora looked into the future, terrible and beautiful, and stepped toward it. Let's go. They ran for the shuttle. The guards did not stop them. The counselor screamed orders. No one followed. As the shuttle doors closed, Leora looked back. Through the glass at the world that tried to end her, she whispered, to no one and everyone, I am not the end. I am the beginning. The shuttle launched. Varelia fell away beneath them. Ahead, the stars opened like a map. A journey waiting. A threat rising. A destiny waking. And somewhere in the darkness of the galaxy, something heard her, something that whispered back, welcome home, Unity.